Hi everybody, back on the wheel again today. Today I've been making some pilgrim flasks. They're quite large. I'm just going to show you how I throw the body of them and hopefully a little technique about how they don't split. So this is, for those of you who like weights and measures, this is 3.5 kilos of clay. It's on a bat. Pilgrim flasks are round but quite flat in profile, so I throw them in 2 shallow dishes and then fix them together, and then add a foot and a neck. So I'm just going to show you how I do the 2 halves of it first. This is a 12-inch vat, and it's very much like throwing a shallow bowl or a plate. Just need to check the thickness of it. It's fine. It's going to have a fairly flat front to it and back to it, so it can go out almost like a plate, and then just bring it up slightly towards the edge. Just compressing this to make sure that it doesn't crack, and it's just a question of throwing the rim. This is a flexible kidney. Just going to get it nice and smooth on the inside. Right, now we're going to throw the edge. I used to do these before and I had a problem with them splitting on the rim. I had the odd one split on the rim. So what I do now is on the bottom, well, on the first part, I put a flat rim. I'll just focus in for you. This is a flattened rim on this side of it, and in there I put a groove. This needs to be a little bit thinner on here. Undercut this so I can wire it off at a later date. I do it now before this gets too flat. Otherwise you can't get a tool in. I've just lost my oh, here it is. Just lost my sponge there for a second. I'm going to throw this a little bit wider. It'll be about 14.5, 15 inches in width. Paying attention to this profile here, because I want the outside to be nice and smooth. Now what I'm doing here is I'm putting a groove in it. That's a groove in that rim, that edge there, and that's it. Check the thickness. thinner. Put it out to the edge. Question of throwing them in. This room won't have a flat edge. So as I'm pulling it out, I'm leaving a slot. I'm encouraging a raised point there. Give it a check. To be another 1/4 of an inch wider. It's easier to have it narrower and then push it wider. If this went wider here now, it's a bit more difficult task to bring it in. So it's always good to do a measurement check before you think you've got to the full width. Oops. Centrifugal force, you can always make a pot up wider a lot easier than you can make it narrow. Spot on. Okay. Right, that will do. Just going to get this inside curve sorted. It's the same technique I use for moon jars, the rims of moon jars. I've done a video before of that. Same principle. Point on the bottom, groove on the bottom, point on the top. Goes into the groove and it seals. One last check. That's it, we're done. The foot ring of the bottle's going to sit in this, so I just need to throw a cylinder and squash it. Down to the wheel head. Put it out to the width I want. Now this bit here is going to be the base that sits on the table or the surface it stands on. So, and this is the bit that's going to be attached to the pot. I used to make them as they came round, they went out like this way. Now I just make them and they go down slightly, tapering in slightly on it. You get much more of a sort of a better aesthetic, I think. So I just need to make this slightly narrower at the top, which will be the bottom. What this also does is if I sat it in there now, I'd have a lot of messing trying to fettle the bottom of here and getting it smooth. Whereas if I get this bit right, the base will always be nice and smooth. done. And all we do is cut it and squash it. And the bottom of the base will sit, that will sit on the base. And that's the foot ring for the bottle. Moving straight down to the wheel head. I'm throwing this one the right way up. I'm just going to roll the top of this neck. Just to finish it off nicely. That's the neck done. Cut it off and then leave it on the pad, on the leave it on the bat, and that's it. That's all the different. That's the 4 constituent parts of a pilgrim flask.